One, and we live.
Welcome to the Call to Courage podcast. This is another episode of the Weekly Bulletin. I am Matt Dazzi here with Gareth Pickering, and we are going to be diving into today some information around our WhatsApp group and how it's popping off, and a simple trick you can use to make sure that your partner doesn't become your therapist. Gareth, how are you doing today?
Awesome, bud. Another bulletin. Stoked to be here with you.
Yeah, so we're going to be diving into some men's work stuff today. And before we do, I want to talk about this WhatsApp group that we've got that is connected to the King Circle and just how good that feels. I feel like we've been doing this work virtually, and sometimes for me, it has felt like we're speaking into a void, right? Like these podcasts go out one way, and it's not always that we get feedback. But now that this WhatsApp group is live, it feels like, yeah, men who we don't know are showing up every day, sharing what's going on in their world, naming their edge, naming what they're working on right now. And yeah, looking forward to this next King Circle. What do you think?
You said something when we were doing our planning session the other afternoon. You and I got into a workflow just to flow with some creative stuff and what we're going to do inside the circle. We smoked a joint. We actually held space for each other on some personal stuff, and we just got into a creative flow. And you said something to me that was so powerful, which was like, "Fuck, man, there's some cool dudes in there that are like on point. They're clear and they're speaking truth." And I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what's happening inside that group." And it feels amazing to have men that we know showing up and being like, "Yes, we want to stand by this and we want to move with you with whatever you're holding." And part of what we're holding is like we want to co-create with other people. But yeah, this week we had a couple of people show up that are maybe just been on the email list for a while or come directly through the podcast who we don't know, and that really feels so good that the message is really starting to spread. And I think it's required us to take a long time to get as clear and as simple as we are at the moment.
I was flipping through my videos the other day with my wife, and like I've got all these videos that download automatically from the WhatsApp group, and it, I'm reminded of that podcast you did the other day with Michael Bates, where he talks about how the men in a men's club tend to be fit. They tend to be physically present and taking care of themselves and taking care of their bodies, and that was something that really, like, I'm proud of it, right? Like I'm proud of it
Mm-hmm.
to open that up and see these guys who are superhumans, right? They're either uh, they're on their path to achieving their greatest expression, and you can see that they are doing the work and showing up every day. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
amped.
Yeah, and the thing about this is that the only requirement for a men's circle or to be in a space like that is to genuinely be with what's authentic, like really speaking to what's true. And the part about that is it's confronting because what's really true isn't always that you're feeling on top of your game, that you feel like you've got it all together. It's like, actually, today I'm really having a difficult time and I'm coming to this space with what's genuinely alive, not the story that many men are told, which is like you always have to have it together and you always have to pretend that things are good. And I know this part of myself in my own journey where there's times in my life when the people that have been closest to me, my friends, I would go for beers with men in my life and they would be like, "Hey, how are things going?" My life would be a mess behind the scenes. And I'd be like, no, things are okay. And I would sort of try and reverse out of the conversation or say something that I thought would protect my personal brand or something like that. And that's almost the exact opposite of what we're cultivating inside our circle, because what I now see is that every time I was inauthentic with the people that I called my best friends, some part of them could feel that I wasn't okay and my words didn't match my energy. And it's really hard to build trust in a place like that. And so, yeah, this WhatsApp group is for people that are on their path. And it's also for those that are like, fuck, I'm having a bad day or I don't know what I want, but I'm looking for connection. And we welcome men no matter where they find themselves in their lives.
Yeah, I think it really speaks to the role that a men's group can play for an individual. Um, my my pathway of being a new dad and being a digital nomad, traveling a lot, is I have yet to find in this new path, 2 years of being a dad, 3 years with you when you think of maternity, of finding that core group of guys in my local community who I can drop in with. And because I've moved around so much, the friends that I had before are not in my physical environment. And so, yeah, my ability to drop in once a month with these guys and speak my truth is kind of a mental hygiene for me. Like if I don't do it, if I don't get this stuff out of me some kind of way, then it manifests negatively in my relationship with my wife or how I show up with my son. And yeah, maybe I know you have some stuff to say around that as well, around the mental hygiene of this.
Michael Bates spoke about this, and this week we're going to be releasing episode, I think it's number 30 of the Call to Courage podcast, where maybe I'll just tell the story briefly. We arrived in Costa Rica and we went to go and see some friends, and we walked into this beautiful home overlooking the ocean with the sun about to set. And there were some people there that I didn't know, but there was this beast of a man, like 6'4", 6'5". He's huge, like in good shape. And the moment our eyes met, there was this like kinship that I was like, there's a dude who's clear and present and aware of what's happening in his world, and his energy was on point. And I was like, wow, there's something about this dude. Anyway, we met there, and he came on the podcast about a week or so ago, and it's going to be released this week. But on the podcast, he spoke about this idea of the ancient art of men being in community together, whether that was going out originally on the hunt or living in community to build a fire or build a house or to do things together, built a special type of relationship where we could unpack and share things in a way that we didn't only necessarily have our family to come back to. The modern world has put us into a place where we go to work and we need to be very professional and show up with our work hat on, but we don't speak to our work colleagues about how shit our life is or anything like that. We tend to have friends that we go and drink beers with and maybe play some sport with, but we also don't necessarily have a safe space. And then what tends to happen is we go home with our problems and share everything with our partner. And in some ways, you turn your partner into your therapist. And it's like there's certain things that you should sit with yourself and not necessarily bring them all to your partner. Now, it's kind of a balancing act, but I think the space that you're talking about that we're cultivating inside the King Circle is really to bring what's authentically alive to the circle and to our tribe, and to connect with other men to get their reflection and feedback on things that you might be dancing with, whether it's a work challenge or a health challenge or a relationship challenge. But to have another safe space to go to really gives you the opportunity to take it away from having to dump all that stuff on your partner.
Yeah, it can be heavy, right? To bear the burden as a partner. Like I know that in my relating, there's moments where we're going through stuff, and if I didn't have you to drop in with, it would be very different. It would be putting a lot of that on Aitana, and I've been encouraging her to branch out and find other members of her community who can play that same role, right? Because it's important to go both ways. That we both have those safe spaces outside of that intimate relationship. Yeah, super important.
Women's work is the same thing, for the same reasons. Women, they tend to be better at talking about their feelings and what's genuinely alive for them. And it's important that they cultivate those friendships. And, that's been true for my partnership as well. Minta's had to, be consciously aware. And the challenge she's got as a space holder in this space is to create a women's circle where she can relax and be who she wants to be. Sometimes feels like work. So she feels a bit of resistance bumping up against that same piece, which is, yeah, the same for her. But I want to just circle back to something that you said about the online men's circle that we do once a month and the in-person men's circle that you feel a connection to, and just share the vision that you and I have been strategizing with those listening to this bulletin. And that is, we've got this deep desire to bridge the gap between the digital and the physical. And we've had this analogy of expanding in the digital, but anchoring in the physical. And really what that means for us is recognizing that in some ways, real connection is really being face to face with somebody, sitting around a fire with other men, or sitting next to somebody and having a date, as opposed to just having a conversation through a dating app, for example. And so we're using the monthly King Circle as a way to really be able to expand. And with the digital nature of our gathering once a month, we can have men from all over the world show up for this. And what we want to do is cultivate and build the tribe that way. And then for those that feel called, support them in a way to be able to hold their own in-person men's circle in their own community. So if you're vibing with the tribe, you're seeing the benefit that comes from showing up in a space that is being well created, and you're starting to see just the benefit of what happens from being inside a men's circle. And you're like, okay, I feel like I want to share this stuff. part of what we're creating is an ability for you to be able to take this and hold it in your own community and be like, all right, once a week or every second week, I'm going to hold a circle at my space and I'm going to invite 3 or 4 or 5 men and see how it grows. And we're going to support men that feel called to do this with an agreement frame and how to hold space so that they can actually anchor these down into their own community. Because I don't think the digital is amazing, but there is also something very special about holding a gathering that's in person in the 3D.
And holding it, right? Like the act of saying, I'm going to hold this circle, I'm going to invite the buddies who I usually play poker with or go out and get drunk with to come and have an intentional space where we can drop in with each other. Like, that act is an act of personal growth. Like, the preparation that goes into cultivating that space and speaking your truth to these buddies who you usually talk shit about sports with. Like, that's a pivot that's very, just the act in itself is transformational. Like the preparation that you and I do to put these circles together has allowed me to evolve, just being ready to think about what I think I'm going to say. Not that I ever say what I think I'm going to say, but like that process of sitting with it, right? And realizing that there's a responsibility that comes with holding this space is very evolutionary, I think, for the individual. And so, yeah, I think the invite is anybody who is feeling called to wanting to host a men's circle in their three-dimensional space, in their community. A great starting point is to show up to one of our King Circles. And our next one is October 29th, in which we are going to be diving into self-care with Brian Jenkins. You want to give a little snippet of what that's going to look like?
Yeah, Brian is another one of these amazing men that have showed up in our world. And part of what Matt and I have been calling in is a new paradigm of business. And what that looks like for us is recognizing that there's a version of me from the past that thought that every person that was doing something similar to me when I was in advertising was a competitor. And if Matt was a competitor in a competing advertising agency, when he got the deal, I lost the deal. And there was this like win-lose paradigm of how I saw the world. And I feel like for me, it was based in scarcity. It's like some sense that there wasn't enough, that we were continually competing for resources. And it's fucking draining and it's hard to do. And in many ways, I actually don't like being a lone wolf. I recognize, and you've also spoken about this, Matt, that we want to do this together. That's why you and I have been on this journey together, the two of us working. But yeah, Brian Jenkins is going to be part of co-creating. Every King Circle has what we call a level up partner. And a level up partner is someone who is best in class at what they do. And they've either got a story to tell or some wisdom to share or a lesson that they've learned that they bring to the circle, that those that participate in the circle can install it directly into your own life. And you can learn something in this month's circle about self-care. So Brian Jenkins is focused very specifically on men's work as well as relationship. And he's got a really powerful story to share around his relationships. And he's going to be our level up partner talking self-care in this month's King Circle that takes place on the 29th.
You can get access to the King Circle by RSVPing at fathersonsbrothers.com and follow the link to the King Circle. It's a 2-hour event. It starts on time, it ends on time, and there are no replays, so you got to be there in person. And I think that's it for this week's bulletin. Gareth, you got anything else to add?
Yeah, I think the WhatsApp group is a really powerful place to be able to connect with us as well. We'll put a link to the WhatsApp group below. And if you're not able to make the King Circle this month, but are interested in the work that we're doing and want to connect with other open-hearted men that are keen to start being the change that we want to see in the world, this circles back a little bit to where we found ourselves last week. Matt and I spoke in the bulletin about, what do we do when the world's going crazy, when the Middle East is popping off and Guatemala, where I live, has been, in a place of protests and riots around political instability. What do we do? Like, what's a good thing to do with your time? And for us, it feels like do the inner work that we all need to do, because the outer world is just a reflection of our own inner world. And so our inner work is best done with others, where we can receive positive feedback, support, accountability, but also that deep, dark love from people that you trust that will call you out on the things that are not aligned. So where I get to tell Matt, listen, bro, I don't think that was the best decision that you made, or he's asking for reflection on what's happening in his partnership. We create that space there. And so that's also what we're cultivating inside our WhatsApp group. So if you're not able to make the King Circle, but you want to get connected to the WhatsApp group, that'll be in the show notes of this episode. And when you join the King Circle, the next page will give you access to the WhatsApp group as well. So yeah, there's two paths to start connecting with us. And yeah, grateful that you're on this journey of co-creation with us. And Matt, stoked that you are part of this journey as well for me, brother. Thank you for the space that you've held for me and the vulnerable space that you've brought as I've supported you in whatever the things you've been holding over the last few months have been.
Likewise, brother. Thank you very much, and look forward to October 29th.
Sweet. See you in the King Circle this Sunday.
Cheers.